Hotline.
Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission advocates on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
Hotline. My name is Monica Weitzel, and we're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. Thank you for joining us. We're going to start out tonight's show talking with Andrea Watson, who's the Director of Communications for Reynolds School District. We talked with Andrea a few weeks ago about some new building construction and some changes in the schools in the Reynolds area, but there's a lot of other things going on, so we're going to talk to her today. Nice to have you here, Andrea.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It was great to be here last month, and the groundbreaking events were a huge success, and
Great.
If you drive by now, you can really see the work is beginning to take shape.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long for it to go from nothing to something pretty tangible.
We went from landscaping to construction zone, that's for sure.
That's exciting. It's very exciting.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of people in the community excited about it. So there are a lot of other things going on in the community. So what's one of the number one things? One of the number one things that are going on with the Reynolds School District?
Well, right now we're really in the midst of budget season, and that's really a planning time for us to really take a look at the programs that we're offering and the services that we're offering, and plan those programs for the 2007-18 school year. And this year we're fairly certain that we're going to be in a budget reduction mode. And although that's not completely certain yet, and the Oregon State Legislature has not actually adopted a school funding amount, right now there's two proposals on the table. There's the governor's budget, and then there's the Ways and Means co-chair's budget. And the Ways and Means co-chair's budget is based on current existing revenues in the state, and it's coming in at $7.8 billion. I know that's a huge number, and it sounds really overwhelming, but that's to fund every child in K-12 through the entire state. So that money gets divided up by per pupil, and so it really starts out as an estimate and ends up as an estimate. If we have more students in the fall than we have this year, then that per pupil amount changes. So the pie really stays fixed.
So does this, tell me what this graph is showing us here.
Well, sure. So that shows sort of the long range trends that have been happening in the biennium. So each one of those little dots represents a 2-year funding cycle. That's how the legislature funds their services, because they do meet only every other year. And so that blue line there is showing how much of the percentage of all of the general fund and lottery monies in the state was, or that's the amount that is allocated towards K-12 education. Okay. And the black line that's sort of intersecting that and going upwards is the total spending in the state in those bienniums. And so you can really see over the course of, just about 14 or 15 years there, that the revenues are consistently rising, but the percentage that K-12 is getting out of that money is shrinking. And so the net effect of that is our expenses are not shrinking.
Right.
And I think most people, you understand your paycheck doesn't grow quite as much as your expenses at home. But when you have a sustained trend like that goes on for that many years, we're just very lean. We've lost programs that we used to have 15 years ago. We've lost class sizes that were reasonable from 15 years ago. And so every time you have to make a cut from where we are now, it's extremely painful. So we are engaging in a community conversation right now. And there's a meeting tomorrow night at Reynolds Middle School, which is located on 201st between Halsey and Gleason at 6 p.m. there in the cafeteria. And the whole point is to sort of give the community a state of the state. They'll go over these finance numbers and a state of the district, the kind of financial pressures and that we have both in terms of enrollment, because enrollment is how we get our per pupil amount. And to just really talk about that and also make sure the community is aware that as this process winds through in Salem, we're really closing in on the last opportunities that citizens have to contact their elected officials and let them know the services that are important to them. And so we want to make sure we get the word out of that, about that, and give people that chance before a decision is made, so that you know, the elected people that we have representing us have an opportunity to give us what we want. And if you are unable to make the meeting, all the materials and videos and information that we'll present will be out on our website, which is www.reynolds.k12.or.us. But there'll also be opportunities for you to sign up to stay informed on what the legislature ultimately decides, and also to be able to sign up for like weekly emails about what's happening on the education committee and how you can get involved. And so we'll have some places where you can sign up there and get involved even if you're not able to make the meeting tomorrow night.
And if you happen to be seeing this on TV and it's after the after this meeting, then do check that out.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Now, I know that you have, there's a lot of other things going on, and I heard that kids are already going to be signing up for kindergarten for the fall. Is that right?
That is.
So
and
tell me about that.
Yeah.
That seems like so soon.
So, you know, one of the real leading indicators of academic success is having a real high quality K-3 experience. And so the whole county is engaged in an effort called Kinder Connects. And the idea is to really reach out and start early. So we will be starting with those kindergarten registration events on April 24th. And we are looking for children who will be age 5 on September 1st.
Okay.
And we have tours and fun activities. So you find your neighborhood school and bring your kindergarten age child, and there'll be fun activities for you to do with your child. You'll get to tour the building, and you can get a jump start on the paperwork. So we ask people to bring their birth certificate for the child, proof of residence, which could be a lease or a utility bill that gets mailed to your residence.
Something that has your address on it.
Right, not post office box, your actual residence. Any kind of emergency contact number, so child care providers, aunts,
Family,
grandmas, neighbors, whoever would need to come and get your child should they be sick and you're not available, or, you know, just for emergency communication. And then the last thing we want people to bring is your immunization records.
Yes.
And so they'll be able to review those and let you know if everything is up to date or if there's still a few more immunizations that your 5-year-old would need to have. And these are really exciting times, and we'll start that on April 24th. We have 11 elementary schools, so they have all picked a night, and those will continue on until May 4th. We have a great publication out there. It'll be in the Outlook in the coming 3 editions. So you can see those dates and times and all that specifics there. And then we also have it again on our website, www.reynolds.k12.or.us, very prominently there.
Good.
And you can let us know if you're not sure the neighborhood school. You can type in your name and your email and your address in there, and we'll get back to you and let you know what your neighborhood school is. You can also look that up yourself. There's a link called Portland Maps. You can go out there and type in your address, and it'll tell you what your neighborhood schools are. So we really try to make it self-service, but if you need assistance, the phone number's to call us. And then if for any reason you can't make your school's designated night, you can continue to enroll at any of the neighborhood schools clear to when we leave on June 20th. And again, in this county-wide effort, we're trying to make sure that every child that's going to be 5 by September 1st enrolls by June 1st.
Okay.
And so get it out of the way, get your paperwork out of the way. You know, that will really help you plug in. Like, we have a lot of great free summer meal programs that are subsidized by the USDA, but the meal itself is free to your child. It'll get you those kind of information coming to your home so you can participate in summer activities. our cities sometimes have movies in the park and schools. You know, we have the swimming pool.
Maybe it's a good
and
way to connect with other
it's
parents.
a really good way,
of kindergartners and the kindergartners.
Yes.
Maybe get to know each other before they even start school. Yeah.
And some of these sites will have activities during the summer. It'll be a little school readiness and, you know, get you on the path of getting your kid, you know, ready for school in September.
Great. So what if you're bilingual? What if you have a Spanish-speaking child and English isn't so good? What can you do about that? Are there programs that will help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a very robust offerings when it comes to learning language. And we have, obviously we have English language development, and that would be for any child who needs to build their skills in English, and that's really from all languages. It doesn't mean that you don't speak English to begin with. Many children are deficient in their English language acquisition as a young child because they haven't heard enough words, or maybe they just have a developmental delay. And so our ELD program is offered to any student who needs that. We also have a couple of models of helping children develop being truly bilingual.
And I think you brought a roll in a video about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's show it, yeah.
Reynolds School District offers a dual immersion program at Alder Elementary in both English and Spanish, where children can learn in a multicultural environment. Registration for your kindergartner or first grader begins in April. Research shows that student achievement levels in dual immersion settings are as high or higher than those of their peers in a traditional school setting. Dual language programs are one of the most effective ways to learn a second language. Being bilingual improves thinking and problem-solving skills, and students develop a better understanding of other cultures. Teachers teach grade-level content in a comprehensive way in both languages. Songs, visuals, and physical movement are used to engage students in meaningful learning. Alder Elementary has a long history of offering high-quality bilingual immersion programs. If you are interested in this exciting opportunity for your students, please call Alder Elementary at 503-255-4673.
So this is a service for any of the students in the Reynolds School District, not kids that would normally just go to Alder, is that correct?
Yeah, this is actually an options program, so families apply and they can come from any school in the district. And basically what this is truly a bilingual. Children are taught 50% of the academic content in English and 50% of the academic content in Spanish. And that really does start out at a different split, and they just continue to add more and more until they're at the 50-50. And these programs have been proven to really change children's brains in some of the same ways that learning how to read music does. Oh, okay. And so if you think about that, right, it's a new language, it's another way of making sense out of our world. And in order for these programs, you know, to really be successful, it has to be a 50-50 split of the students in that class. 50% of them need to be primarily English at home and 50% primarily Spanish at home.
Wow, that must be a challenge to work out the logistics on that. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, it's one approach to being bilingual. We also have a late exit program. And so if you're interested in your child being bilingual, you call Alder and they will meet with you and they'll assess your child and they will recommend to you what the best fit for your child is. Being in the dual immersion program, which this is our second year of offering that, is a long-term commitment. And so in order to really acquire and become academically proficient, not just to be able to speak or maybe have conversation in the other language, you really have to really immerse yourself in studying it. Right. So again, you're not just going to be learning, you know, how to say hello and sort of the little small talk phrases.
Right. The travel
At some
phrases
point, you're going to be learning how to write in both languages at an academic level. You're going to learn your science in both languages. And so as children age, you want them to stay in those programs as much as possible. And obviously they're kids, so if they try it and it doesn't work out, then we need to make adjustments. But it really is for those families that are really committed and want their child to be able to be academically proficient in 12, you know, as a graduate fully in both languages.
So most of the kids that are in this, are they native English speakers?
It's half and half.
Spanish. It is. I mean, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really the only way that it can work, because you really have to have enough speakers of both languages so that each child is learning the other half.
Yeah.
And so and again, there's been extensive research over a long period of time now, and this is really the gold standard way. In an ideal world, everyone would be exposed to 2 languages from birth.
Right.
And so because it's at 5, the beginning point, then we still have some academic catching up to do.
Right.
Because our brains are wired to acquire language. The earlier we start, the more successful we'll be. And that's not to say you shouldn't enroll your child in another language in high school. If you're interested in learning Japanese, you should go for it.
Go for it, yeah.
But the reality is it's going to be much more difficult to acquire that. The sooner you expose them to the other language, then those neural pathways, their brain develops in a different way. And it's almost like they have cue cards in their brain. I want to say this, and then they choose the word and the language. And so, it changes the way a person thinks, and that's the power in this, and that's why the results are that those kids tend to be academically overachieving their peers who don't have those exposures.
That's great, Andrea, and I think that's a really wonderful service to offer, and I'm really glad they have that in the Reynolds School District.
Yes.
We're out of time. I really appreciate you coming today, and I hope that the people here that are from the Reynolds School District really appreciate what they have in people like you and the others that are working for the school district. Thank you.
Again, I'm always happy to come back. We have a lot of great programs. Even in these 2 shows, we've just barely touched the surface, so I hope to come back and tell you about some other great things in the future.
I will plan on it and look forward to it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for watching this first segment of Community Hotline. We have a lot more coming up on the show, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
Is made possible with generous support by the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission advocates on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
Documentary was more than I ever would have dreamed of doing.
This is a community media station.
It was phenomenal.
Ready, camera 1.
What is it about this place that makes so many different people come together?
Ready, camera 2.
Very professional, experienced people.
You can use these industry standard pieces of equipment.
Ready, camera 3. Take 3.
To be rich to do this.
Open people's eyes to something they've never even thought of before.
Cool stuff happens. It becomes this community.
That's going to really change who's telling the stories and who's controlling the messaging.